Why dismissive avoidants believe everyone will hurt them. Have you ever met someone who seems emotionally untouchable? Someone who keeps you at arm's length, not because they don't care, but because they do. Dismissive avoidants are often misunderstood as cold, selfish, or emotionally unavailable. But underneath that calm, distant surface lies something far more human. A deep, quiet fear that everyone they let in will eventually hurt them. In this video, we're diving deep into the psychology of that belief. Why dismissive avoidants come to see love as dangerous, closeness as risky, and vulnerability as a setup for pain. And most importantly, how that belief shapes the way they love, lose, and protect themselves from a world they secretly want to connect with, but just don't know how to trust. To understand why dismissive avoidants believe everyone will hurt them, we have to go back to the origin story: childhood. In their early years, most avoidant children were met with emotional rejection or indifference when they expressed their needs. Maybe their parents didn't know how to deal with emotions. Maybe love was only shown when they behaved right. Over time, these children learned a dangerous lesson. Needing others leads to disappointment. They learned that being vulnerable brings rejection, and that no one will really be there for them when it matters. So they built an emotional fortress, strong walls that keep others out, but also keep themselves locked in. Every relationship, every potential bond becomes filtered through that early programming. If I open up, I'll get hurt again. As adults, dismissive avoidants appear confident and self-sufficient. They often come across as independent, even stoic. But that independence is often a mask, a survival strategy, not a personality trait. Their emotional logic says, if I don't rely on anyone, no one can disappoint me. They genuinely believe that needing others equals weakness, and that dependency will always end in betrayal or abandonment. To them, love feels like walking into a trap. So when someone gets close, they instinctively pull away. Not because they don't like the person, but because closeness activates old memories of pain, of being let down. What looks like detachment is often self-protection disguised as control. This belief that everyone will hurt me doesn't come from paranoia. It comes from experience, real or perceived. Avoidants have emotionally archived every moment where trust led to rejection. Every time they opened up only to feel unseen or misunderstood. These experiences stack up quietly in their subconscious, building a worldview that says people can't be trusted. So they withdraw, they minimize emotional needs, and they convince themselves they're fine alone. But here's the paradox. They crave love deeply. They want connection, intimacy, and safety. Yet when they get too close, it feels suffocating. They start to sense danger, not physical danger, but emotional exposure. The kind of exposure that feels unbearable for someone who spent a lifetime avoiding emotional wounds. Imagine the dismissive avoidance inner world like this. On one hand, a part of them is desperate to be loved and understood. On the other, another part is terrified that love will destroy them. So they keep people close enough to feel wanted, but far enough to feel safe. They engage, but they don't fully invest. They might flirt, bond, even start relationships. But when intimacy deepens, something inside them panics. Suddenly, they start finding faults in their partner. They become irritated, distant, or emotionally numb. Their brain tries to rationalize it. I'm just not ready. They're too clingy. I need space. But underneath those excuses is one unconscious truth. If I let this person see all of me, they'll leave, betray me, or use that closeness to hurt me later. When someone with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style gets hurt, they don't cry or chase, they retreat. Their emotional system is wired to shut down rather than explode. This gives the illusion of strength, but it's actually deep vulnerability avoidance. They think distance equals protection. Yet ironically, that same distance becomes their prison. They end up lonely, misunderstood, and emotionally isolated, replaying the same pattern in every relationship. Get close, feel threatened, pull away, and then justify the detachment. Over time, this repetition reinforces their core belief. See? I was right. Everyone does hurt me. But the truth is, it's not that people always hurt them. It's that their fear of being hurt never gives others a fair chance to love them. Let's talk about emotional forecasting. something dismissive avoidants do subconsciously. They don't just anticipate pain, they expect it. Their nervous system has been trained to detect even the smallest signs of potential rejection. A slightly colder text, a missed call, a partner's mood change. Instantly their mind says, here it comes again. This is not overreaction, it's trauma memory. It's a nervous system trying to protect itself based on the past. So when they push people away before they can be hurt, it's not malice. It's preemptive self-defense. They'd rather be the one to leave first than risk being left. It's easier to say, I don't need anyone, than to face the terror of being unwanted. In relationships, this fear often plays out subtly. The dismissive avoidant might seem emotionally flat or uninterested, but inside they're scanning for safety. They test you, emotionally, silently. Will you judge me if I'm vulnerable? Will you still love me if I'm not perfect? Will you stay if I pull away? But because they rarely voice these fears, their partners never realize they're being tested. And when the avoidant eventually distances themselves, the partner often reacts with hurt or frustration, which to the avoidant confirms the narrative. See, people always get mad. They always hurt me. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy built from unhealed emotional scars. The heartbreaking part is that dismissive avoidants don't actually want to live this way. Deep down, they long for a love that feels safe enough to rest in, but that kind of love requires trust, transparency, and emotional vulnerability, the very things they fear most. To them, love feels like giving up control, and control has always been their shield. So they live in a constant emotional tug-of-war, the craving for connection versus the compulsion to self-protect. This internal conflict can last years, even decades, unless they become aware of it and consciously begin to heal. Healing for a dismissive avoidant starts with one radical idea. Not everyone will hurt me just because someone once did. It means challenging that deep-seated belief that vulnerability equals pain. It means understanding that emotional independence is not the same as emotional isolation. And it means allowing someone, just one person, to see the real them without pretending, minimizing, or withdrawing. The irony is that the thing they fear the most, true emotional openness, is the only path that can free them from the loneliness they've been trying to escape their whole life. If you've ever loved a dismissive avoidant, know this. Their distance is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their wounds. They're not cold. They're scared. They're not uncaring. They're overwhelmed by the idea of needing anyone. The best way to help them isn't to chase or fix, but to stay grounded in your own emotional stability. When you embody calmness instead of pressure, safety instead of demand, they begin to feel something they haven't felt in a long time: trust. And once trust enters, the fear of being hurt slowly loses its grip. So why do dismissive avoidants believe everyone will hurt them? Because once upon a time, someone important did, and their heart decided it would never let that happen again. But walls don't just keep danger out, they keep love out too. And sometimes the bravest thing a dismissive avoidant can ever do is to let someone stay long enough to prove that not everyone leaves, that not everyone destroys what they touch, and that sometimes the love they've been running from is the love that finally teaches them it's safe to feel again.